I should point out I've come prepared, right, for just in case I say anything that's out of order, because basically what this conversation is for straight white men, diversity. I've prepared a sign.
Hey guys, welcome to the Nice Guys of Comedy podcast, with your hosts, Jack, Vincent and Nick Crooks. Oh, and by the way, they're from the north, that's the reason they sound that way.
Hey guys, Jack the editor here. As I said in the previous episode, we got so excited in this one that we never actually introduced our guests. We are so lucky though to have comedians James Bayes and Jed Salisbury on the podcast today, and in the last episode, in case you didn't check that out. Both James and Jed are working on lockdown projects. James is doing budget musicals and films, which you can find on Facebook, and Jed is doing Jed Learns Things, which can be linked on his Instagram. Just for that, James's handle is at JCHBays, and Jed's is at Jed and Breakfast. Please join up with the podcast as well. We are using basic equipment, and the majority of this podcast does have James's head cut off because the recording software just wants to do that. And with that in mind, remember that we are on YouTube, but still on Spotify, podcasts and all that jazz. So please like, subscribe, share, let everyone know, and get yourself on Facebook and Twitter, and check us out at NGOC Pod as well. And without further ado, let's crack on.
So in lockdown then, what have you guys been doing to keep yourself, I'd say, relatively sane?
Jed's been doing this awesome thing called Jed Learns Stuff, or Things. Is it Things or Stuff? I can't remember now.
I mess it up all the time. Jed Learns is the simpler. Yeah, so I started like a little YouTube series where me and my little brother learn things that we've never learned before. We learned to cut hair, we learned to bake a cake, and we learned to play Fortnite.
Nice. I will admit, I have tuned into them, and they are very, very, very funny. The only thing from the last video that I watched, and I went, I mean, I didn't, but I was like, I'm pretty sure someone could do this. Because you filmed a bit when you were in your garden, and I was like, you can see all of the stuff from outside. And I went, someone could Google where he lives, and he could well be dead by now.
Oh, well, this is the thing, right? That's happened.
What, you're dead? Shit.
In my lifetime, I have had 3 stalkers.
Jesus.
3. That is...
Like, what have they wanted from you? Just to
I've learned nothing because I'm giving out my address willy-nilly.
When I first met Jed, we were doing a gig in Harrogate, this place called Vanilla Bar. There's a guy called Dave McAndrew, right? Dave won't be listening, but if he is listening, Dave, absolute legend. Dave was one of these people, he won't mind me saying this, that off stage, you are crying laughing. He's the funniest man you ever meet in your life. As soon as you put him on stage and put a microphone in front of him, all that funny vanishes. It's like, where's the hilarious guy we were chatting to? I don't know.
He's the only person that has made me fall to the floor laughing, like ribs clenched, like just in person. But on stage, it just never clicked.
What happened? Yeah, we did a car share once. This is not Jed, but Dave, a guy called James Acaster, not the James Acaster, and I can't remember. We did a car share all the way to Cradley Heath to the famous Hollybush and back, and all the way there and all the way back, I was crying laughing at Dave. The only time I wasn't laughing at him was the 10 minutes whilst he was on stage. But he ran this night in Harrogate at Vanilla Bar, and it was a night that should never have really happened. Like to give you an idea of this gig. The stage was in front of this, there was like this partition, and behind the partition were these the toilets, and we basically performed in front of the toilets, and when I arrived, there was a bloke doing a line of coke, like in front of the doorman, like on this table in the entranceway, and I'm like, excellent, and this is Harrogate, like Harrogate.
Yeah. So it was some good coke then.
It was Diet Coke. It was.
Well, you would know, wouldn't you, Nick? Current reigning Harrogate Comedian of the Year.
Oh no, everything that goes on in Harrogate.
Nick sold it to him.
I like. We will come back to what you mentioned earlier, but I think one of the main reasons why, as well, Nick is liking lockdown is the fact that they can't put that competition again, so he gets to be it for 2 years.
Mate, I still consider myself Funny Scunny, and Funny Scunny reigning champion. When was that? 2015? Because there hasn't been another one since. So Jed was the champion before me, and I won the following year, and they haven't run it since. They were supposed to give me a paid gig when they started comedy again, and never started again. So I am the funniest person in Scunthorpe. So just there's a record for you.
I'm the Hull Comedy Festival director, so I'm the best actor of the Hull Comedy Festival 2019. No one could correct me. No one could be like, "No, you're not," and I'd be like, "Yeah, the director said so."
He's in charge. But this night in Harrogate, Jed, I just met Jed maybe a day or two before at this random open mic night.
Yeah, we had a nice little run because we could, essentially that gig is probably where we became friends.
It was.
I think we did a Mr. Benz together, and then we did an act, and then we did that one.
We did one before that. We did one the night before, and I think it was Tom Milson, who doesn't do comedy anymore, that was running it. It was in this. There was a statue of either Spider-Man or Superman or something in this weird bar. It was like a long. And this was the night before, and there were 4 people in the audience. It was weird. And then we did the vanilla one the night after. And to just give you an idea of the stalkers and sex appeal that Jed has, this woman who accosted him mid-set and more or less said, whilst he was midway through his performance, "I'd leave my husband to fuck you." And we all went, that's really funny. A weird heckle, but really funny. She meant it. No,
was the husband there?
I don't know. Because she tried to shove her tongue down your throat, didn't she? It's like fucking she didn't just say it. She followed it up on her actions. So whilst I think Jed and then Andy and then I was in the middle, and whilst I'm on stage, I could see this woman try to sit on Jed's lap, and Jed's polite. He's a polite guy. He's not going to bat her off, but you can see the discomfort, and she's like, nah.
She genuinely said, "I only live around the corner. We could go over to mine. I could suck you off, and we could be back before the break was over."
So you did, yeah?
I love how she's classy enough to take you home and not just do it at the back of the bins.
It's Harrogate, isn't it? If it had been anywhere else, it'd be just around the back. But Harrogate, no, we must go to a house.
Yeah, I've got a weird thing of there's something, I don't know what happens, but it doesn't happen often. But if a girl does like me, it becomes weirdly obsessive.
Did you have a fan page? Didn't someone create a fan page?
I got a fan page.
They do, and they follow me for some reason on Insta.
Yeah.
That's to get close to Jed. They know you two have been talking. They think that's my way in.
Then why do I feel so left out?
I don't know.
I've got, weird enough, actually, I actually got text.
My favourite memory of Jim in Spiders, since we're talking about this, is that Jim is so pretty, he broke up a couple, right? This is how pretty Jim is.
Oh, yes, this is going to be good.
I know.
Can I tell the story, Jim?
Yeah, tell it. Just redact the names.
Yeah. So we I think we do some gig in Hull, and then I'm like, "Jim, you want to come crash at mine and we'll go to Spiders?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So we go to Spiders, and then it's all right, we're having a good night. And then Jim bumps into someone he'd worked with on the acting sort of field, and she's there with her boyfriend, and her boyfriend's just stood talking to me, and Jim goes off and goes dance with this girl, and her boyfriend's talking to me, and in my head I was like, I would leave Jim Bayes to be dancing with my girl. Have you seen him? He's a very handsome man. His boyfriend's talking to me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever, mate, yeah, but whatever. And then I go off and, go find some trollop, whatever.
Get your man to sign off.
I come back and I find Jim off somewhere else and this couple arguing. And then the next thing I know, it's time to go because mine and Jim's taxi's here. Jim goes, all right, I'll just pop to the toilet. So he pops into the toilet. Next thing I know, Jim comes rushing out, followed by this guy who then storms off to his girl, because in the toilet he pushed Jim against the wall, was like, "My girlfriend fancies you," and Jim's like, "How is that my fault?" And he's like, "She's gonna leave me for you," and Jim's again like, "How is that my fault?"
What Jed also fails to point out is I was mid piss. So everything was exposed. So this guy's like, "My girlfriend's into you," and I'm like, everything's out, and I'm like, "This is awkward. This is really awkward." He's fully clothed and everything. I'm like, my trousers are well. we shouldn't have this conversation whilst you can see that. If nothing, like, should we talk about it like a reasonable man? He's like fuming. He does look like the sort of guy as well. He does like he's probably a lovely bloke. He's probably really, really nice, but he does look like the sort of bloke that would like slit my throat and pull my tongue out and make me wear his tie. He looks like he'd rip my head off. He's like,
it looks like he could be a character on Guitar Hero.
He looks like one of the better looking people from Mad Max. Like he's got this sort of scary vibe, and I'm like, but he did like literally try and pin me against the wall. But in any situation like that, my general vibe is like, wait, let's be cool, everything's fine. But my knob was out, and I'm like, I'm really concerned that he's going to fit something to that.
It's weird how he wanted to address that while you had your knob out though, like as in, like, what was he going to do? Grab you by it, push you against the wall, and be like, this is not happening. What's taking you off?
The thing that I can say that might make me sound like he must have thought in his head, well, he's probably got a little dick, and then he's like, oh, right, that's the. And that sounds like a brag, but like, maybe that was the. Like, don't get me wrong, right? It's nothing to be proud of, but he might have gone, well, it's not little. And
maybe if he thought if we push him against the wall and hand job him, if he comes, he won't want to sleep with my girlfriend tonight.
At that time, I'd have taken that. Do you know what I mean? It'd been a long time since I had a human contact.
This is why it's my favourite story. So Jim comes out. We sort of work the maze of the nightclub to get outside. And just as we get to the door, Jim stops, thinks about everything that's gone on. He knows this couple's broken up. He knows it was his fault. He just went, I actually think I might stay out a bit longer, actually, Jed. And I'm like, oh, okay, fair enough. Well, if you need to, like, get home, here's my address, you know where I live, just grab a taxi. Like, completely know where he's going. I text him, like, 2 hours later, just like, you all right, pal? And he's like, yeah, I've just at some girl's house. I was like, oh, the girl from tonight. And he went, no, a different girl. I'm just in bed. She got me a Capri-Sun. I'm just in bed drinking a Capri-Sun.
I forgot about that. Oh my god. I forgot
Which I love
about
because
Capri-Sun.
that's probably like her son's Capri-Sun.
Yeah.
No adults giving a Capri-Sun, have they? So he's like, I gotta pick up the kid from the dance tomorrow. He's gonna get home and have no Capri-Sun. That's genuinely one of my favourite stuff. Like, I've not seen it. Like, I've not visually seen it. But my favourite sort of visual of Jim in my head is him in, like, someone else's bed just drinking a Capri-Sun.
I forgot all about the Capri-Sun. Oh my god.
I don't know what, right? When I was listening to the story, I was like, oh, this is generically why four straight white guys should not make a podcast. But the Capri-Sun, that's just taking it to the next level.
It's amazing. Yeah, great memory. I forgot all about the Capri. I remember it in vivid detail now. I'm like, I remember, like, I'm thirsty. I'm not saying why I worked for thirst. I'm just like, oh, I've got some orange. I'm like, okay. And then it's Capri-Sun. And I'm like, well,
But also, think about it, guys. How much better would any sexual experience you've ever had in your life be afterwards if she goes, got a Capri-Sun if you want it?
It's to be fair, because it's got a bit of vitamin. It's like, I don't know what would be worth. Like, I'm going to bring you a yop or a yap. Like,
Some Frubes.
Where would you? Where?
Oh, Frubes.
Like,
Yes.
she's not the one. I mean, to be fair, she wasn't the one, obviously. But like, what could she bring? You're like, oh, you are not the person. Like a Capri-Sun, I think. All right, admittedly, probably there was a child that went without a drink that day. But
Hey, would it be worse or better if there wasn't a child involved?
I'm not sure.
No grown adult should have Capri-Suns, and I love Capri-Suns.
I only have vague memories of that night, but I definitely remember the Capri-Sun.
No, the thing about the Capri-Sun is, I saw an older housemate of mine when we were planning on moving in. Beforehand, they'd messaged me, like, we were chatting about stuff. He was like, "Oh, I just need to let you know that I'm obsessed with Capri-Sun, so there'll always be Capri-Sun in the flat." And I was like, "That's a bit weird, but okay." And he made a point of mentioning this like 4 times before we moved in together. We lived together, and I only ever saw him have one Capri-Sun, and I would message him going, "Oh, Capri-Sun are offer at Tesco's," and he wouldn't be that bothered, and I never saw him have one Capri-Sun other than this one, like the day after moving in. And I found it weirder that he never had any Capri-Sun after making such a point of loving Capri-Sun.
He's probably just alerting the fact. Yeah, he's probably alerting the fact that he's a paedophile. He's probably like he's warning you early on.
It's like if ever you find me with a Capri-Sun and somebody's homework book, like I'm really into Capri-Sun.
He's got to tell people, like you've got to say you're a registered sex offender. Yeah, he doesn't like to just blurt it out. So he goes, "Just so you know, I drink Capri-Sun all the time."
The one person with children in this chat is the one that thinks of the sex offender.
I've got to protect my kids against these Capri-Sun drinking buckets.
Is that going to be the new thing? Like, you teach them, going, if someone offers you a Capri-Sun, just run the fuck away.
Yeah, because kids love a Capri-Sun, don't they? That's easy. That's better than sweets.
Kids and apparently Jim.
I'd let someone nonce me for a Capri-Sun.
Exactly.
Just throw it out there. I got a puppy at home. I can buy my own sweets, but when Capri-Sun's out on offer, they look like £3 for 10.
Shit.
Not willing to spend that amount of money.
I'm willing to get nods.
Up in the van, like, get in, you can have a Capri-Sun.
After a night in Sambuca for 75p, a Capri-Sun is welcome.
Also, he's going to see the way I can demolish your Capri-Sun and get super turned on.
Oh my god.
Because then he's going to be like, look at the suck on this speaker.
Oh, Christ. This is not what I expected from this conversation. Yeah, no, it's totally what I expected.
I was about to say, I saw this coming a mile off.
Yeah.
So did he. So you've been learning some things then.
I love how we started with that. That's how we started at. We've ended with paedophiles and Capri-Sun.
Limits for a Capri-Sun.
You've told all your stalkers how to get you. All they got to do is wait at your house with a box of Capri-Suns and go. You wait. As soon as he looks at him, yeah, I've got him.
There's going to be middle-aged women out there with a Capri-Sun. I just know it.
What's that show? You Don't Fuck With Cats. I've not seen it, but apparently they found out where the guy that was killing the cats was located somewhere in Canada, wasn't it? By his wallpaper or something weird. And so people located where he was from that. So obviously Jed's going to get found out now. So what's going to happen is tomorrow morning or whenever this podcast goes out, so it's about a day later, there's going to be about four or five like random women just like out. There's a shop just down the road. I've stayed at Jed's house. There's a shop just down the road that sells Capri-Sun. We don't even need to cart. We just got the shop first because Boris is opening them in a couple of days, so that shop will be open. That's absolutely fine. And we're just gonna get them and then sit outside. Now, a little bit further down the road from that is a takeaway where Jed once did an entire presentation on the racism that was painted on the. What was it, Jed? Was it about Polish people?
Oh, so I've got the image somewhere, but I think this is the funniest bit of racism I've ever seen. Right? They'd writ Turkish cunts, and then they put EDL smiley face, right? Which isn't funny, but if you look at it and broke it apart, Turkish, they've had to go back and add the K, and you can tell. So they'd originally wrote Turish cunts. Cunts, the U looks like an L and an I, so it's Turish Clints. And why the smiley face? Why after writing that would you be like, oh, I tell you what though, they have had a hard time, and that seems proper offensive. Let's have a little smiley face on it.
Yeah, take the edge off it. Take the edge off the racism.
Dude,
I don't want to be too harsh.
Racist. It is actually, yeah. Let's put a smiley face on there.
My question though is, Jim said that you did a presentation. Who to?
It was a comedy show.
Yeah, it was part of my comedy show.
He wasn't like he was rallying. He was like, guys, seriously, if you're going to abuse the Turks, like spell it right for a start.
No,
and what's the smiley face all about? Like, fucking hell, guys.
In my head, YouTube just walked down. He's seen this and then just whipped out like a pointer and is going through all these points.
It's like the Elsa of racism.
There is a magazine,
57-point PowerPoint presentation of why your racism was wrong.
That used a screenshot. I did a show thing, like a half-an-hour show at a comedy club, and that was like my big finale. But someone has got a picture of me just pointing at a sign that says Turkish cunts. And then a magazine recently published that photo in it with no context. And then like I messaged him, and the guy I've worked with a guy who runs the magazine, and like, yeah, I just thought it's a funny picture and that. I'm like, yeah, it's funny when I break it down. Funny if I just pointed out Turkish cunts. Smiley face. It looks like I did it.
Yeah. And you photoshopped a spray can in my right hand.
and a white hood over his head.
So what have you been up to, Mr. Bayes?
So for the first 50 odd days, I was doing a thing called budget musicals.
Yep.
It started with, so I was supposed to go see a musical. It's a little known musical called Phantom of the Opera. Not many people have heard of it.
No.
And because I was meant to go see that, the day before lockdown, actually, because obviously my last day of working was the 13th of March, I think it was. So it's like a bit before lockdown actually happened. 13th or 14th of March, can't even remember now. That's 2020, like not 1974. It does feel like that long ago. So lockdown for me kind of feels like it's been longer than it actually has, because not been at work, because people who run clubs and so are more clued up than our government. But let's not go political. So 2 or 3 days before lockdown, when I knew I wasn't going to be able to go see this musical called Phantom of the Opera that you might not have heard of, I thought, right, I'll kind of do a tribute to that for a bit of a laugh. And because loo roll was in really short supply, I thought, for a laugh, I will make my mask out of a bit of loo roll, the Phantom mask. So in this musical that you might not have heard of, the Phantom, Eric is his name, but the name's never really mentioned, wears this mask over half of his face because he's hideously disfigured. So I made my mask out of loo roll because hilarious. And I sang one of the songs from the musical. It's called Music of the Night. You might not have heard of it. And posted that for a bit of a laugh. And like I'd got in my house. So in the musical that you might not have heard of, there's this scene where he goes like into the depths of this theatre with this young girl who I think's like 17 or something, 18. No, right. I googled this to check. She's 19, and it's still inappropriate, even though at the time that would have been all right. It's still inappropriate because I think he's 65. But the portrayal.
He's done more research on this than any of the girls he's dated.
Yeah. And he had a box of Capri-Suns.
Mate, you know what I mean? If I'm not getting Capri-Sun, it's like it's a yogurt or something like that. I'm happy. I don't know why yogurt, but anyway. So yeah, he's in the novel. There's a novel. He's like 65, and she's like, I think she's 19. I checked this out because people like calling me out on it. Why were they calling me out on it? There's a reason. Anyway, irrelevant. So he takes this girl. It's because it's like he takes this girl to the sewers and he like tries to seduce her, right? Which I think is seduction is also known as grooming. I think there are variants, but it felt like grooming. And there is also, this is what it is, because there's a sequel to this musical called Love Never Dies. You probably heard of that. It's really popular, that one. Everyone knows about it. It's really well known. It's really well known. Right, and that's a bit, because they have this, right, spoiler alert, in Love Never Dies, they have a child that they created in the first musical that isn't even possible. In the first musical that no one's probably heard of, Phantom of the Opera, there's no way that they had sex. It just didn't happen. But in the sequel that everyone knows, they've got a kid. So anyway, spoiler alert. So in this scene where he takes her down to the sewers where he lives, because he lives in the sewers, and he's not a Ninja Turtle, he's a phantom. But he's not even a phantom, he's a bloke with a mask, but he's a phantom. He takes her out to the sewers and he sings this song to her, right? And it's the song's called Music of the Night. But in the like moment of taking it, there's this duet that they sing together. But I live on my own and I've got nobody to duet with, so I had to sing this song to her. And so I sang this song with a bit of toilet paper on my face. This is a long-winded version of what's going on, but I would need you to know every detail. And so I did that, the song with a candle. I don't know why I'm pointing over there, like you can see, but I've got this candle thing and a fork, and I'm like, it's really a budget version of this musical that no one's heard of called Phantom of the Opera, and I did it for a bit of a laugh. And I think on my Insta story, because it just went on there first, is like, how's lockdown going for you? Lockdown hadn't even happened at this point. I just reminisced, which isn't a word, but whatever. Lockdown coming, and how's lockdown going for you? And then like, here's me pretending to be in the musical that I can't go see in a couple of weeks because theatres are shut because theatres were ahead of the government. So I did that and posted it on my Insta, and I had about 700 comments. Well, that's an exaggeration. Six.
Six sounds an exaggeration.
I had some comments, and a lot of people go, "That's hilarious. That's really funny. You should do another one." So the following day, I did this other, like, you've probably not heard of this, but it's called Les Miserables, or Les Miserables, whatever you want to, whatever. So it's another musical. Yeah, it's like a little bit unheard of. So I did a budget version of that. Like, I made my sideburns out of football socks. Like, it's hilarious. Oh, funny.
And then from then on in, you basically started doing every musical under the sun in your pants and lion heads, basically.
Oh, mate, like, after the popularity of those two, I was like, right, I'm going to do this every day until either lockdown ends or I get bored, which obviously I got bored first. Well, I didn't. Other stuff came up. So I did that I did pretty much every musical. Some that I are well outside of my vocal range, which many people might say was any songs outside of my vocal range. But
Jed with a massive knot there, like.
Oh yeah. We began outside your vocal range, mate. Yeah. I just, but I mean, I was doing it for a laugh, and it became a thing that was keeping me busy. Then what happened was, after about 50 odd days of like fucking hell, lockdown is not ending anytime soon, I changed it to movies, which I thought I'd be doing for quite a while, but then I got some potential work for after lockdown, so I've been focusing on that. But I'm still going to do a couple. I'm just not going to do. Obviously, I'm not doing it every day like I was. I'm still going to do the odd one. Just might be now a bit random, but so that kept me busy for like 60 odd days. In the time I wasn't doing the budget musicals and movies, I spent a lot of time learning stuff. Not Jed style learning stuff, but like. Somebody sent me a book. Where's the book? So I don't think you'll be listening. A guy called Matt, who's really, really helpful in my life. He sent me this book called The Big Leap, and it's about taking chances and being like
about suicide. I've read it.
this when I first received this book, I was like, this is definitely about. Yeah, this is definitely. You know when you judge a book by its cover, and I'm like, and there's a goldfish that's jumping into a bowl, and we can't be sure from that right. Can you see my screen? We can't be sure that that's water. That could be acid. That could be anything. Like, we don't know what's going on here.
What floor's your flat on?
Fourth. It's on the floor. It's the top floor, basically. Yeah.
Risky one.
Although to be honest, knowing my
risky
luck,
one because you could do enough damage that you're in a hospital for life and not end it, which is worse than ending it.
That's exactly what. Knowing my luck, I would just break a lot of things but survive.
You never canal though. You never canal. I'm not giving you tips. This is very wrong. But what you could do is, if you've been learning things, Jed, and you've been doing musicals, Jim, why don't you swap?
Jed does have a bit of a meatloaf, right? Audience watching at home, if you're not familiar with Jed, right? Jed did not have a beard or long hair before lockdown. This is just
how long lockdown's been.
Right, but Jed does have a meatloaf vibe going on now. And I'd love to see him do. I would love to see a meatloaf tribute coming out of Jed's mouth. I would. The other way around. I would not love to see a meatloaf tribute coming in Jed's mouth. That's a whole other story.
The Capri-Sun's a Capri-Sun, Jim. I'm not one to do it.
How did you know he had a beard? Weird.
Capri-Sun's a Capri-Sun. I think we've just named an episode.
Yeah, I was actually just about to say we know the name of the episode.
That was the Nice Guys of Comedy podcast with Jack, Vincent and Nick Crooks, recording from their own home and heavily fucking edited. Follow them at I am Jack the and of Nick Crooks Comedy. Why don't ya? #NiceGuys.